Your former, how long were you on the school board for?
I was on the school board in Northville for 8.5 years.
Wow, 8.5 years.
Yeah,
okay.
Elected twice in 12 and 16. And I tell people running in 2024 that when you run in a presidential election, that's a thing because you don't need to work to get voters out. They're coming out. So it's first normal, I think, sort of election in a long time. And we'll see how things turn out.
So a lot of people aren't paying attention to Lansing and things that are going on. And I think in the last couple of days, there have been some Democrats even coming out not happy with how the process went to fund education in Michigan in this new budget. Republicans weren't happy. Some Democrats weren't happy. What do you know about what you read, what you've looked into? What's going on with, I think, is it $23 billion?
Well, the school aid fund normally gets passed. It's a separate budget item.
Gotcha.
Schools are required to pass their budgets for the year by about June 30th. Okay, so rewind to the Granholm years. She would routinely have budgets come in September. School districts would have to pass a budget based on a guess, and then they'd have to go back and amend it based on what actually was in place. Under Snyder, they tended to get the budgets done early, mid-June. So you as a school had some certainty around what you were getting. The previous budgets have come on time, but this one that was passed just last week came with a massive surprise. So for the first time in a long time, we're talking over a decade, the school aid fund did not include what's called an increase to what's called the foundation allowance. Schools are funded in Michigan with three primary sources. There's bonds that are on your millage that fund buildings and things like that. Some districts in some counties have what's called an enhancement millage that's the same way. Those funds are kind of kept more either locally or within the county. But most of your tax dollars and some tax dollars from other things go to the state, and then the state turns around and sends them back to the schools, generally in the form of what's called a foundation allowance. So last year, the foundation allowance was $9,608 per kid. So if you know your school had 1,000 kids, you knew you were going to get $9.6 million from those 1,000 kids, and you had some certainty around that. And every year, basically over the last decade, it's gone up some. It goes up generally a little bit in non-election years, and in election years, it tends to go up a lot because everyone wants to go home and say, hey, we funded schools. Well, this budget process has been very opaque, so opaque that groups that have generally long been, I guess, for lack of a better word, cheerleaders of the people who are in charge in Lansing, including diverse sources like the MASB, the MEA, the AFT, the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. So basically this big group of people said, whoa, what? When the budget started coming out, and again, this is done with no hearings, no input. You have to vote on the bill to find out what's in it. And it basically comes literally out of a smoke-filled back room. And they hand it to everybody and say, we're voting on this in 15 minutes.
And like what, at 3 in the morning? Is that, or
3 or 4 in the morning? That's right. And there's parts of the bills that have to be passed by the House and shipped over to the Senate. Well, for the first time in a decade, the foundation allowance increase was $0. Zero in an election year. Schools people were just completely aghast. They had instead made a temporary reduction in the payment that districts make towards MIPSers. MIPSers is the Michigan State Public Employees Pension Fund, teacher's pension.
Yeah, that's when I first, and I know the Michigan House budget proposal cuts payments on pension debt by $630 million. I think that's what got a lot of attention to teachers, retirees. So for those watching who don't even know what that means, but they know what a pension is. They're probably maybe not lucky enough to have one, but that is literally taking money from money that's supposed to be dedicated to that, taking it away from there.
Correct. And you might ask yourself, well, is it because our pension fund's doing so great that it's so full? No, our MIPSers, it was worse. It's gotten a little better. It tends to ebb and flow with the stock market a little bit. It currently has over a $29 billion deficit, a hole. If we had to stop today, they would be $29 billion short. And pensioners like my dad, who is a public school teacher, would be shorted. Particularly younger teachers who have paid into it before they converted the plans, they would particularly be shorted. So it's not like it's full. They took money out of this thing that they had been filling in because we had pork we wanted to take care of, and there isn't enough money to go around.
Now, yeah, because I see here also, according to the Mackinac Center and others, Michigan taxpayers, it would cost Michigan taxpayers an additional $1.4 billion over time due to increased interest. So that $630 million, where did it go? Do we know exactly where it went?
Well, money's fungible, right? So it goes into whatever. But she had taken that stuff out and put it more towards the general budget. And if you read on the general budget, there's been reports on this, and you've seen people come out. It is laden with pork. I love baseball. I love it. I've been to Jimmy John's Field. It's really cool. It does not need $1 million grant from the Michigan taxpayer. Thanks. Let's keep that money in schools. Particularly, she wanted changes to community colleges.
Because free. Is it? Sorry to interrupt. So I think she's gonna sign it probably. Is it free, and nothing's free, but free community college for almost everyone in Michigan?
Yeah, paid for. Well, community college paid for by the taxpayer for everyone in Michigan. That's right. My daughter's economics teacher says you can't use the word free in my class because nothing is free. Nothing is free.
Well, that's good. It's true. So, but I think some people would be shocked because many people don't pay a close attention how government works. That $630 million was in for teachers' pensions, but it has been taken, and some of it's being spent in areas that have nothing to do with education.
And if you think back, this is what makes it awful. A Senate majority leader in the Michigan Senate went on the floor and decried that how dare the Michigan Republicans take money out of the school aid fund and use it to fund other things. This is dedicated for schools. Who was that? That was Gretchen Whitmer. And now they did the same exact thing. They reached into it, took things out of it, and parceled it out elsewhere. And these school groups are really upset. But how this is going to impact you locally, I'm involved with a push to get school board members elected.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. And
we'll talk about that in a second.
How important that is. But what does this do to the have some of the schools? Do they have their budget set? Do they need to go back and reevaluate? Or
the answer is all of them have their budget set. Yeah. All of them have to go back and reevaluate. I can only use the example of my Northville. It has a pretty good board. They kind of pay attention, and they have to make a guess. And their guess, they thought, well, the previous years we had gotten 500, and it's probably a little bit COVID related. So we'll just guess on $240 additional per kid in the foundation allowance increase. It is an election year. That's a pretty good guess. The finance director is great. They got zero. So in Northville, that's $1.7 million that they had been expecting that they're not getting. Now, we have a fund balance, and that's okay. But other districts, including some districts that are in grave economic peril, like Ann Arbor, Wayne Westland, you heard those two cases. They woke up and there was a whole pile of money that they had expected to get that's just not there. And now you have to make choices, right? People when they analyze things they hear out of Congress in Washington, D.C., it's always in the form of, is this a good idea or not? In the state of Michigan, we have a balanced budget requirement. So when you spend it on one thing, you can't spend it on another. Mm-hmm. So you've spent this on free community college. Sounds great. But now you have to start doing what? Firing teachers, cutting programs, raising class sizes. All those things are bad. And it was frankly shocking that they occurred in an election.
And that's why it makes, this was all done, like you said, without much input, and it wasn't a joke. It literally was done in the middle of the night. I mean, the vote happened. But
these documents came out minutes before. When you see a letter and it's signed by the K-12 Alliance, AFT, the Michigan Association of School Boards, the MEA, the Michigan Association of Superintendents and Administrators, It is crazy. All these groups lined up, said, no, 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 you can't do that. And in particular, there was a bill that was supposed to be passed that would sort of permanently set the rate, the payment rate down, passed by the House. Apparently was never transmitted to the Senate. The Senate went into recess. And guess what? Now it's not an election year for the Senate, but it is for the House.
Yeah.
And these people are off to go campaign and win races, some of them in newly drawn races, right? And they're left holding the bag. And there's this somewhat of an offset relief. Query, how can you make something permanent? Can't the new legislature change it? Yeah, that's correct. But, you know, but in the they didn't come home with anything. And it sounded like members of the Democratic legislature, because they're the only ones that are involved. Republicans got no say. I know 4 or 5 personally. I had and they got nothing. They were just, you get 15 minutes, you're going to vote on it. You don't like it, too bad.
Yeah.
And they were left holding the bag. And it's remarkable when you want to make all those promises, so you can say you did all these great things. Free school lunches. Okay. I mean, free school lunches where every one of means is already getting a free school lunch. Thank you. My kids don't need a free school lunch. They can, the loaf of bread, while more expensive than it used to be, is pretty affordable. So
why would they alienate some of their own people then? Is it the temptation of the pork in why would they do that? Because they upset some of their base, their hardcore supporters. They just basically said, who cares what you think? It sounds like.
Well, I think it's a little different than that. I think they said, where are you going to go?
Well, true.
Where are you going to go? Are you going to vote for the Republican this year? Because you're not going to do that.
True.
And I think that's a mystery, because I think when this issue comes home, when people start doing the calculus in their districts, and the people that I'm working with are starting to do that already. The math's pretty simple. You know, how much money did you budget for? A couple $100, $250, something like that. How many students do you have? Now you have to cut your budget in that much.
Wow.
And if you balanced your budget and you're thinking, wow, I did great. No, now you're cutting things. And this is summer, right? So summer people don't like to talk about schools. They're thinking about pool and summer vacation and sports and activities and all these things. And they don't really think about it. But when they get back, when it gets to August and we start setting class sizes, and parents look and they say, whoa, why are there 26 kids in my kindergarten class, my kid's kindergarten class? There's an answer. And that answer starts in Lansing.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm thinking of it real quick. And that's why a lot of people are interested in public education and I'm seeing more interest in people maybe wanting to be involved. And you mentioned a little while ago, trying to help people maybe who want to be on a school board. A lot of people, I've been approached for several running for office and I declined, but there was a fear that I didn't know what I was getting into or how to do so. What would you say to people, even across the state, that may want to get involved, but they don't know how the system works? Is that what you're trying to do to help people?
That's 100% what we're trying to do.
Okay.
School board governance is the closest possible thing we have in Michigan to citizen governance. There are no requirements. Okay. You don't really need to know that much. You need to care. And you need to be able to decide for yourself, to be prepared. And the how do you do it? It's really not that complicated. It's a nonpartisan race, so you don't have to be part of a party. It's generally something that people who are only really engaged in schools vote in. I'd love to change that, but that's how it sort of works. It's at the end of your ballot. And it's not that complicated. And there are constantly spots opened up. And what I look at it from a very nonpartisan lens, because I can tell you over the past many years of my school board, my closest sort of confidant on the board is she and I never voted for the same people for any elected office. I can guarantee that. But there would be issues, and the answers would be, what's best for kids? And I'd look at her and she'd look at me and I'd say, why are we not doing what's obviously best for kids? And there is, I think, universal consensus that this budget that was just passed is not best. It's not. You're putting a lot of things into places where do you really need to pump more money into health clinics? Is that really a good idea? Do you need more money into free this and free that? I'm sure we would happily give up our portion of free school lunches if we could put money into it and get another teacher or two. So it's nonpartisan. It's very schools and issues driven. If you pay attention in your schools at all and you have something to say and you have an interest in it, I'd love to talk to you because I'm helping people get ready to run and with ideas and strategies and things like that. And that's sort of the concept of the organization.
Is it just your area or is it someone statewide or anywhere that would like to?
Anywhere in the state. It's unique to the state because the state has very, one of the things I concentrate on is issue education. You have to be, I worked on a campaign, a guy says, well, what we're going to do to solve our funding issue is we're going to do fundraising. And I said, well, you can't. That's not allowed. It's against state law. Really? In other states, it is. In other states, you can do that. In Ohio, if they want to pass a local tax to fund better teacher salaries, they can do that. You can't do that in the state of Michigan. Yeah. So you have to be educated about how things work here, and then you can figure out with rights, responsibilities, what your role is. Okay. And there's a lot of forces out there that are telling parents, you don't get to have your hands on the wheel. And what I bring to them is, no. When you get that elected office, your hands are directly on the wheel. And that's the way it should be, because public schools are supposed to be responsive to their constituency, whichever way that turns, right? In some parts of the state, that turns one way. In some parts of the state, it turns another way. But that is what it's supposed to be, responsive to that voter. And there are a lot of people who are trying to be elected, and they got elected in 2022, and they walked in and no, your job is to be quiet and listen, and you just and I don't care I don't care which political party you're on. I'm like, no, that is not the correct. You are an elected official. You are to exert authority. You are oversight, and you are a type of person that you should ask questions. And if you don't get answers, then you start. Then there's more questions and more poking on, and you'll find things that you didn't find. I bet you bottom dollar that everybody who lives in the city of Ann Arbor Public School District wishes they would ask more questions, because that is vicious. They have to fire 100 or not retain 100 teachers to cover something that was effectively a math error. That's awful. And if that starts repeating across the state, parents are going to be real upset about it.
I graduated many years ago from the Wayne Westland School District, and now they do not resemble anything that I remember. And what the heck is going on there? But I want to ask you something. I remember in my reporting days, you were talking about school board members, doing what's best for the kids and being themselves. But many school districts, Flint, Michigan was one of them. I would try to interview school board members, and even privately, some of them would say, well, no, I can't do this because they're telling me this, or the administration this or this. It didn't feel like many times they were thinking for themselves, or they weren't looking maybe what's best for the kids. And I dealt a lot with it in Flint. Some of them would not even do interviews with me. They're like, oh no, we got to go through the school to get permission to do an interview. I'm like, no, you don't.
You're an elected official.
Yeah. Right? And did you think though, when elected officials, maybe if they've been there for a while, do some lose touch with what it is all about? They shouldn't.
I mean, look, it's cool. You get to wear your little patch, and I'm on the Northville school board, and I get walk around town, and I get to go to grand openings and whatever. But when it comes down to actually putting your foot down and saying, no, these are decisions that I get to make. We were on the school board one time when we had an expulsion hearing. Oh. And the district wanted to expel this child, and there was no question that this child was taken in by a bad seed. It was a young kid. And we had the hearing, and myself and a couple other school board members, we told the superintendent and their team, get out of the room, because we're going to talk about this ourselves, because you're not required to be here. This is a matter of the board. Wow. And she looked, and we walked back out of that meeting, and it was a 9-0 or 7-0 vote. And no, we're not doing that. Wow. And And that's not the answer she wanted, but that's the answer that the law. I make this joke, right? So read the Michigan School Code. It's massive. It's huge. Hundreds of pages. But you know what it doesn't have? It doesn't have a section on the rights and responsibilities of superintendents, because there aren't any.
Really?
Those are your job as the board. So when it says the board must not, shall not, that's your job. So if somebody walks up and says, no, you just take your hands off the wheel. No. My name's on that.
Huh.
And that was a matter of how much personal pride you had in it, how much. I had kids in the district, I still do, and I'm not going to have this happen. And you see, and again, that's not a partisan thing. That's a universal thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them they'll tell you flat out, we don't want you talking on topics related to schools.
Yes.
I shared the board with a member. He's another person. He and I never voted for the same person. It was a current teacher, and he was very loud about what he saw was going on and how he either liked it or didn't like it. And he defended me and I defended him. And I said, he has absolutely the right to do that. He has absolutely right to tell the public what's going on. It's a public school.
Yeah.
But some don't like to hear it.
Wow. How can you what's the best way for someone to get in contact with you? I know I follow you on social media, but if some random person is watching and if they reach out to me, I can get them in touch with you. But do you have a website or any way to?
I do. It's been created by my now 17-year-old son. So it's but it's up. Just go to getkidsbacktoschool.org. Getkidsbacktoschool.org. So everything all spelled out. You can go on there. You can there's a contact me and a join us page where you can go in, tell me what district you're in. Hey, I'd like to run. Yeah, look, see, it looks pretty basic. That's what 17-year-old boys do. That's okay. Go in, tell me where you're from, and hey, I'd like to run, or I'd like to help someone. I have a friend who might want to talk to you, and we'll put in touch and we'll go from there, because there's some great stuff going on. These are very, very important races, and it's uniquely responsive to the needs of local parents, and it should be. And those aren't the same in different parts of the country, the state. The rural places and the urban places and the liberal places and the conservative places, they're all different, and that's okay. That's okay, but that requires a parent to be engaged and say, man, a parent, grandparent, community member, anybody, be engaged and say, you know what, I'm going to ask some questions about that, because I heard what went on in Ann Arbor and I don't want that to happen to us. Good. You should be.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to have you here. I'll have you on again. I'm going to put that link out for people. And if I hear from anybody, I'll send them along to you as well. And I think we need more people like yourself. And hopefully we're starting to get people interested. And like you said, all that it is for, what's best for the children. It's simple as that.
As simple as that. You got to do what helps kids learn more, because that's the whole point. And I thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, sir. Have a good week and a good 4th of July.
To you too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.